when I come into resistance of, but I liked my little house there, and I liked how things were there, and I liked how the setup was there, and I liked that container, and I had just gotten comfortable in it. It's like the Galactics came in so clearly and said, what you liked about it, that feeling that you loved about it, you can have that here in an even more amplified, upgraded manner, because that's what we brought you here for. That timeline is complete. You have to be willing to release that timeline in order to move forward. I feel like that's where we're all at. Like, instead of seeing it as my job is telling me that I have to either take this thing or I have to leave, it's like, well, no, source, the universe has a new plan for me. And I love to see these as graduations rather than deaths or endings. It's like you're graduating to the next level. So all of these pieces before that you couldn't see are coming up for you to reintegrate, reconnect to source, essentially because you've been launching these greater and bigger desires. I feel like many of us are being called to greater statuses of wealth so we can do greater things on the planet. And so maybe the business that we had, the business model was quite abundant. We were like, this is awesome. And now source is like destroying it so it can be rebuilt again, or it's being completely remodeled, or we're being called to an entirely new way of expressing the gifts that we have to share. And it's awesome. And it's also scary. And we're all in it together. And I come back to constantly this understanding that the rapture has already begun. In scripture, it talks about being raptured up. Well, that's exactly what's happening. And those of us that are being raptured up are finding each other, are being relocated, are being called to higher positions, because we are inheriting the kingdom of earth right now. Not we shall, we are. And God, I'm getting like chills sharing this. We were given the permission to the keys of heaven. Heaven is inside of our hearts. We were given the permission to bind that in heaven and to have it bound here on earth that is not in alignment with love, and to loose that which is in alignment and love. And so what I'm seeing is that even though a lot of us feel like we're sort of being a little bit like beat up, like, oh, you're taking me out of my comfort zone, you're taking this away from me, you're taking that away from me. Source is actually saying, oh, this is like a really cute analogy. You guys are going to laugh at me, but it's like, please give me the little teddy bear so I can give you like a humongous teddy bear, but you have to have even greater faith to have this huge teddy bear. And how many times in our life have we been through this? I've been through this so many times in my life. The other piece that I wanted to share that I've witnessed and been was deeply rooted in me, and a huge process of coming back to this place that was this huge cycle of kind of is the over this Mercury retrograde, there's been an ending of the cycle between the narcissist and the addict, the narcissist addict and the savior or the victim. And seeing a lot of relationships ending that were created in this inversion of love, which is not love. But something really powerful that I was able to see from my own childhood was that because of the traumas I went through, and because of the man that was the first man I fell in love with, my father, I had a huge overlay still in me, as much as I love God's source, that some part of God's source was going to be like my father, that some part of God's source was kind of sometimes the loving one who loves me, and sometimes going to be like the monster. And so I better follow these strict rules, because if I don't follow these strict rules, I might get in big trouble. So it's been a really deep healing for me, because as a result of it, I was still having a lot of male reflections in this new place show up that were the exact reflection of the narcissist addict. And then I got to go into my own lifetimes and see the lifetimes in my own masculine that I've been the narcissist. And I just really right now realize that anything showing up outside of us, whether in feminine or masculine form, is showing up to show us what we still need to do work on within ourselves. And that can be really humbling and really vulnerable, but that is where we are at, all of us right now. We have to keep doing the work. And also, as we do the work as star seeds, we're doing the work for the entire collective. As we are healing it in our DNA and reconnecting it to source energy, we're working interdimensionally through the quantum field, because that's what DNA work does. And there is no junk DNA. And as we are allowing our DNA to activate into the Christed codes, we're affecting the DNA for all of humanity. When you heal that within you, you heal it for your ancestors, you heal it for the collective. So those of us that have really high starseed positions and are seated high in the royal places already, guess what? We are being given the hardest pieces, because we are the ones who can do this. So in a way, when it shows up, we have to be like, yes, I have been chosen for this. Everything I need is in me for this. And what is on the other side of this is going to be an incredible party or graduation or like miracles. Source, what are you going to do with this? Because I just have to say one more thing here, because the biggest thing that I've been told lately is the love right now, Christed consciousness, non-duality, is so amplified and so supported by the angels and the galactics and source at this time, that if you are on that path, everything is assisting you to rise, everything. And the velvet road will be laid out for you. The rose petals will be thrown at your feet. The doors will open, because that is what source is supporting right now. And so if you are in that place and you are a starseed going through these things, or a light worker going through these things, just know all of heaven is assisting you and supporting you and making a way, because miracles are not rare. Miracles are our moment to moment birthright. The fact that we are breathing and our heart is beating is a miracle. I'm not doing this. Source is doing this. And we have to go back to those simple fundamentals to get through this time. Okay.
Yeah, just one thing. I just loved listening to this. You are on fire. I love it. And I just wanted to say, I can see a shift in your energy really clearly. And when you mentioned about these patterns being broken during Mercury retrograde, I see a very different energy around you now. Like it's, can I say it or not?
No, you can. It's true. I'm going through massive shifts.
Yeah, it's like a rebalancing of the masculine and feminine inside of you. And I can feel
It's
romance energy really strongly around you. And whether it's there or not yet there, I can feel that it's massive. I can literally see it. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen soon.
It's not physically here yet, but it's massively here. And it's also what's inspiring the music. It's like we are my muse, and the divine masculine feminine eros connection to Venus as the embodiment, those of us that carry the Venusian connection, real strong masculine feminine polarity, that is inspiring the music I'm creating right now, the divine love story of humanity, because the source as masculine feminine making love through us is what is literally rebirthing these Christed consciousness timelines. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you too.
Reflection means a lot to me.
It was beautiful. It's funny, you know, the cute metaphor that you used with the teddy bear.
Yeah.
It's so funny because the picture they showed me is kind of like I'm in a sandbox as a little 2-year-old, and my higher self comes and like takes the little Tonka toy out of my hand. It's kind of like, come on, you got to let that go. It's time to be led forward, led away, which is, I thought was really sweet.
Oh.
And also you talked about the keys to the kingdom. So just a couple of comments. The keys to the kingdom are our agreement to it. That's what the guides have told us. The key, you have the keys to the kingdom, to your agreement to be worthy of the kingdom, because like you said, it's absolutely our birthright. And we've been perhaps instructed away from the idea that miracles absolutely happen all the time, if you have the eyes to see. Because I feel like being presented with the praying mantis is a gift. That's, to me, is God talking to me directly. I see you. I see you. I know you. They talk about stations of learning. So you're talking about shifting timelines when we move or move beyond a path of learning, time to jump timeline or to a new station of learning. That's what they refer to that. And then the other thing that you said, I think it was you, Nina, but it was, what do you, the guides actually asked in the class I just took with them, which was True Knowing. They said, what would it take for you to feel safe? What would it take? And it's to know the divine. The only way through this passage is through that connection to source, because we have plenty of evidence out there that it's all gone for shite, right? It's like, it's like, what is happening? The world is falling apart. Yes, it is. It's like we're in a demo though. Earth is being renovated right now. We're watching it collapse, and we're watching it be right. It's kind of like a reno, and when you look at a reno in the middle of it, it's, oh my bloody hell, this is an absolute mess, right? There's stuff everywhere, things are overturned. So yeah, faith. And then I think Chrissy, you had said something too, but I didn't make a note of it, so I wanted to comment on that. But no doubt I've said everything that feels need to be said. But yeah, it's a pretty amazing time to be alive. Go ahead.
It's great that the one thing we all seem to have strongly in common is that we all see what's going on and what's going to be happening. So it's not just one delusional person going, oh my God, I see this and this. No, it's like we're all having the same navigation, and that's really a hopeful thing, I think.
Yeah, and I love how we. Sorry, go ahead, Tara.
No, I was just going to say, and I also know that the people, and particularly women watching this, really relate to the things that we say. And I can almost hear their comments now going, I feel like that too. That's happening for me too. So it's not just the four of us. We know it's a we. Yeah. There's a much bigger we going on. And I get really big goose pimples when I say that.
Thank you.
Sorry,
now I remember. Now I remember what I wanted to comment to Chrissy, because you were saying that, you know, sometimes you look at, like, have I not grown at all? Because I've had that same moment of absolute. Well, if I see somebody working out, as an example, with a mask on, I'm like angry for them. I'm like, what are you doing? You're blocking your sacred breath, and that's our first nutrition, our first nourishment. Like, you can eat, you can go without food for 40 days, as my husband said. Well, you had Jesus on your side when I talk about fasting, right? Well, Jesus, 40 days. And you can go without water for a couple of days, but you can't go without breath for longer than like a minute, maybe a minute 30 if you've got really good lung capacity. So getting angry about that. And then we'll have moments of self-doubt, like, right? Like I teach emotional intelligence and stress resilience to the science of heart math, but it doesn't mean I'm not challenged. Like when I'm trying to tie my boat up when we're docking in 50-kilometer-an-hour winds and I'm not quick enough, and then the captain's shouting, "Get the boat!" And then I'm like, and then I'm like, I'm not having fun. This is not fun. I can be stressed in those moments, but we have the tools. When you have the tools, we can deal. Which is the point, right? And like you said, we all share the same experiences. We all go back to the same tools. Self-love, go to the heart. And the whole point about is, even though planet Earth is under, renovations, all these incredible opportunities and potentials are available for everything to be remade, reknown, reclaimed. through the miracle of wonder. And when you believe in that, then magic can happen.
But I don't think it will be long now. I really don't think that the absurdity of this can maintain very long anymore.
We can. You have to forgive me. My dog is scratching at the door at the moment. I completely jumped in on you there, Chrissy.
No. You think it can stay longer? The absurdity of this, that this will
when
stay
I look
for.
into it, I'm like, oh yeah, the absurdity can continue because there's a lot of tenacity to holding on to something and not birthing into the light. I mean, look how long we've been in the dark age, how many thousands of years that this has been, but people have held on to this. And yes, we're in the Great Awakening, and those people I feel will get less and less. Gracie's scratching at the door. But I do definitely, I can feel the tenacity of those clinging onto the absurdity. And also I know how long things take to wash out of a person's system. Like you said, this is eons worth of stuff. This is karmic stuff. It's soul karmic stuff. You think how old potentially your soul is in earth years, how many lifetimes you've had of accruing this stuff, how many generations are buried underneath us that we haven't heard all the stuff.
The way I see it is like this massive spiral of time, and that we've gone so fast now, we're at the absolute top, thinnest bit. So even though it has been eons, it's gone so accelerated now that whatever normally would have taken 200 years now only could take a day.
Yeah.
And I really do think it's within the next few years we're going to see a massive tipping
flip
over.
Yeah, flip.
Yeah,
because I think it was Tara, or it might have been you, Chris, it might have been either, I don't know. One beautiful sister on this talk said this, and I know it wasn't me, but we have decided, so the soul, the higher selves of humanity as a collective have decided we cannot go on this way. So anybody that sees any of the shenanigans in the external that look like more control, more limitation, more, it won't stick because it does not support humanity's liberation. It won't stick. But you're right, Chris, Tara, you're right. They've got, like, if I'm taking you, you can take everybody down with them kind of thing. They don't care, right?
But that's not the full picture. That's not the whole part. Yes, I know that there's a tenacity, and I can look several years ahead and go, yeah, they're still tenacious. And of course, that tenacity has to weaken over time because it's not sustainable. And the Great Awakening is happening. And Nina, when you were talking, it was really reminding me of the interviews that I've seen on Project Camelot with Kerry Cassidy, with people who are whistleblowing on Project Looking Glass. Have you guys seen any of those videos? Yeah. Really awesome stuff. I mean, I remember my dad telling me about this. Oh my goodness, I don't know. I don't even know how long ago, 20 years ago or something, easily more than 20 years ago. You know that movie Contact with Jodie Foster, where they have the big spinny time machine and they can manipulate time and timelines. And so anyway, this stuff is really real. So if you haven't heard about Project Looking Glass, guys, go look it up and go look at Kerry Cassidy's Project Camelot videos. I don't think you'll find her on YouTube anymore. I think she's been kicked off. But I was rewatching an interview with Bob Lazar and another guy called Bob Wood, both who have been involved in working on this technology. And they both said that basically there's the group of elites, and there's several groups of elites, and they're all, there's good eggs in all of them and bad pennies in all of them as well. It's not absolute, these guys are bad and these guys are, whatever. It's a mixed group. But he's basically saying the elites have spent a lot of money and created this machine that can interrupt and adjust time ever so slightly, fractional amounts of time, so that you can look and see and assess probabilities and look down the timelines of what's going to happen in the future. And assessing the probability of probabilities. It's quite an incredible thing. And so this one guy, Bob Wood, was saying that there's essentially two timelines. There's the timeline where you know, everything breaks crazy on Earth, and there's the big destruction event, and all the elites have built their bunkers underground, and they sit it out and they wait it out while the rest of us fend for ourselves, and most people get wiped out by the events. And the other timeline, as Chrissy, you know about that timeline, you wrote a movie script about the elites going into bunkers. And then the other timeline is, of course, the Great Awakening. And these are not spiritual guys. These are like military guys, scientist guys. And they're talking about, I can only describe it as the Great Awakening. And whichever probability was entered into this computer, into this time machine, it was like all timelines converged to the Great Awakening. And that's all that can happen. Past 2012, they freaked out around 21st of December 2012. It was like, that was the point where all timelines converge and there is only one outcome. And he said, imagine if you've got two people playing a game of chess, like master chess players, and one of the players is going to be in checkmate in 7 moves. And the other players, obviously, he's going to put that person in checkmate in 7 moves. So he's won. But this person can still long it out. He can still, like, he's lost the game, but he can draw that out and long it out and take and be distracting and create, chaos. But ultimately, it's still that timeline. It's still the Great Awakening.
That's where oh, sorry, go ahead. Please continue. I just wanted to jump in and add something.
Oh, no, please go ahead. I wanted to kind of get everything out because then I have to jump off. I've got to be on another call, but I wanted to.
No, we have to remember that source will use every opportunity. So even though they may be delaying the chess game, right? Because when I was talking with someone else, like the picture they show me now, the boomerang, it's not a little boomerang. This boomerang is bigger than a car. Is kind of what comes right back. So no matter what they do, source will use that opportunity to further the agenda of humanity's liberation.
That is
we have to remember that no matter what, because there's nothing outside of source. And source only sees God. God sees God. God doesn't see this naughty little human being been doing things with their little 3D ego. God sees God, witnesses in its perfection and beauty, is reclaimed, renowned. And then what happens to that individual beyond that is what I call nunya business. Right? Our business is our if everybody could pay attention to their own backyard and own stuff, we would move forward so much faster.
That's the key. Self-awareness, self-consciousness, self-love. And it's true that boomerang is enormous because whatever you put out there, you're going to get it right back at you.
Yeah.
Like, because all roads lead back home. All roads lead to source. All roads lead to the Great Awakening. And I'm really glad you said that as well, Paula, because I did a whole video on this the other day. A lot of people that I'm hearing are still putting power in energies, entities, labeled beings outside of themselves. This entity, big G, big J, names, this person will save me, this being will save me. And I'm like, source energy, which is everything, which is also in the heart of us, that is us, doesn't say, oh, I'm going to be on the side of the good guys or the side of the bad guys. It doesn't say, yeah, like you said, you're a naughty boy, I'm not going to be on your side, I'm not going to help you. We've seen people for thousands of years praying to their big gods that they will win their war and that the other side will lose their war. And it's been a battle of whose god is the most powerful to win the war, to win the battles. And I really feel it's time that every single one of us totally reclaimed that power of absolute unconditionality, the unconditional love of source, the unconditional love that we are as the ultimate power that doesn't choose a side, that doesn't say, oh, I'm on a winning side or not on a winning side, because you're still in duality, and duality is merged in that unity in the heart of unconditional love. And that it's not really, I don't really think of it as winning or losing. I don't see this as a battle, except a battle with your own self, a battle with your own mind and your own concepts. And whether you choose to engage in that light and dark battle in your own mind or whether you just drop in and make peace in your heart and just be in peace with everything that comes up. Just find peace with everything. Just love everything and find peace with it.
Yeah,
And what you said about the narcissism, Paul, Nina, was really, I've experienced exactly the same as that in the last 2 months, ending narcissism victim patterns. And I just want to say one more thing, because this whole trip has been reminding me of something that I read about in The Secrets of the Flower of Life, but with Melchizedek Drumvalo. Have you read that book? It's absolutely
great book. Yeah,
absolutely incredible. He's written two amazing books. But when he talked about the Pyramid of Giza and the initiation chamber that took the initiate through from 3rd dimension through the 4th dimension into 5th dimensional consciousness, it was an actual activity. It was an initiation sacred rite that initiates would go through. This is what this chamber was built for, this pyramid was built for. And the initiate would go in complete darkness, knowing that they had to get through a huge tank of crocodiles, hungry crocodiles, and they had to swim. This was their task, to swim through this tank in the dark to get out the other side. And if they made it out the other side, they passed the initiation. Now, of course, you can go into your fear, and that's what the initiation chamber is all about, where whatever you fear, this is 4th dimension, whatever you think, you manifest, whether it's good or bad. So whether you have a fear, you will manifest your fear and you will make that fear true. So the trick to this, if you like, was that instead of trying to see through the darkness and see where the crocodiles were and navigating on survival, it was to totally drop into the heart, drop into the inner light, and be guided by the inner light, be guided by the inner tuition, and feel the way, because you can't see. And this is really like the world right now. There is crocodiles, there is darkness, there's people out to get you, right? It's crazy. How are you going to get through this? It's like, how am I going to get through? And I can't see the way. I don't know the way. Everything's going to pieces. And it's to just feel the way, feel through, follow the feeling. And what actually there was a real thing was this: once you felt the way through as this initiate, you would find that there was actually a secret little passage. This was all underwater, by the way. They had to swim through the darkness. There was a little passage that took them around the crocodiles.
And yeah,
but you couldn't see it from the outside. You only felt it when you were in it, and you could feel and it was totally safe. But the mind didn't know that. The mind still thinks it's in the pit, in the swamp of crocodiles. So it's literally, and then you come out the other side, and then you would have passed that initiation. So I really feel that that's really relevant. I think that's a good analogy for what we're going through. Is yes, there are sharks and crocodiles and all these nasty things and all the scary things, but the more we focus on it, the worse it gets, and we will succumb to that. We'll succumb to the death of our own fears, if you like. And actually, just by there is light inside you, there is light inside everyone. And even if everything that we know falls away from us, we're still left with that. And that is everything. And that's the precious gift. That's the precious gem of life. That's knowing, that's knowledge. That's unconditional love, and everything else can fall away. And new universes, like Nina said, will be born from that place.
Yeah. Be. Go ahead, Nina, and then we'll wrap up because Tara.
I'm going to go now, but I love you, girls. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I'm going to have to go as well, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry. I'm in a closed
So really quickly
office.
then, before Nina, oh, she's gone. Darn it. Okay, well, anyway, before you say that, I wanted to say, if anybody needs some assistance with self-love, obviously Tara has offerings. Nina, you do wonderful theta healing support, and I teach, everything I do is through heart gratitude. So all of the gifts that I have and offer, I will also share and teach anybody that if they need tools to help navigate this using the heart, I can help show you as well. So there's folks out there basically that can help. Go ahead, Chrissy. You're going to say something, and then no, sorry, Nina, you wanted to say something, and then we'll end because we all have to go. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think what's being really amplified for me by our galactic team, which is our future galactic consciousness, where we already are, and is already available to us is, why did we come here? We came here as star seeds to promise that we would amplify a Christed consciousness timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And so what feeds the timelines of chaos and fear? Chaos and fear. So if we are buying into everything that they're throwing at us to try to get us to go into a state of fear and chaos, and we are actually giving our power over to them. And this is how they do black magic. So we have to remember this, because when Tara says, you know, Chrissy, I honestly loved, I'm just being honest, I loved it when you said, Chrissy, that you feel like this absurdity can't go on much longer. That's my reality. I'm not, yes, I do see, I can remote view right now and see into the future and see what Tara is seeing. I'm not choosing to amplify that timeline reality. That's not my reality. What I saw very clearly when I got raptured up by the Holy Spirit within, which was the divine feminine flame returning to me. That's what the Holy Spirit is, the divine feminine aspect of Christ, of God, inside, not outside, was that there would be two separate timelines. And that those that would not participate in a lower timeline frequency, because it was all about frequency, would be impervious to anything going on a lower timeline. Well, why is that? Because we are refusing to give our power over to it. I don't want to amplify their black magic. And so I can't tell you how many times my galactic team has come in and been like, the more that you keep looking at this possibility and that possibility and this information and that information and this doom and gloom and this truther and that truther, you are actually, because Nina, you're super powerful because you are a starseed and we are super powerful. And as women, our wombs actually amplify timelines and give birth to timelines. That's been a new understanding. And so if we are amplifying the frequencies and vibrations of fear, we are feeding into their black magic. If we amplify love and God is more powerful than this, I refuse to believe that you are more powerful than God. Mm-hmm. Then we are doing exactly what we came here to do. It doesn't mean that we're perfect, but I feel like that's the biggest message that everybody needs to hear right now, because what has come to me recently is we have the power to fold the timelines. And if the majority of us that are holding the light on the planet were to actually anchor into one solid vibration of love beyond duality and stop like bouncing back and forth, this would actually accelerate. We have that much power within us.
Yeah.
That's what we have to get to. So even people keep saying to me, well, when is this truth going to come out? Well, when are these arrests going to happen? I'm not even buying into that anymore, because that continues to keep you frozen in a 4D state of duality.
Yeah. And what I know Chrissy's got to go, so we're going to wrap this up. And what my guide, well, first of all, I want to say that Melchizedek, that's who the guides, they've only named their names twice, and it's Melchizedek, who Paul Selig and the guides are, who they are, number one. And what they say, whenever I'm like, oh, when is it? Because finally, when is the truth finally going to come out, right? So the crazy ones can be redeemed, essentially, you know? And they say, in God's time, in God's way, in God's love, it will happen in perfect ways. So let's wrap this up. This has been such a good conversation. I do hope that our listeners feel the hope and the inspiration and the wonder that we have within our hearts, because, you know, we walk the walk and choose the walk, and it's the timeline of love. That's all it is. And the way out of this is in, and just put love on it. If you don't know what to do, put love on it. That's all, right?
And humor.
And humor. Oh yes, laughing is very, very
and
important.
Compassion and grace.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my lovelies. I'm going to stop recording now. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back with you very soon.
Paula, can I say one thing
before I stop recording?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm putting out a ton of sound frequencies to the world right now. They're free. They're on YouTube. They will really help people raise their vibration because the frequencies are so necessary right now. So just everybody, please go and listen to those, because there's so much coded in those to assist others who are, breaking up that matrix and that programming. So I just wanted to share that.
All right, and I'll make sure that I have the link for folks to find that at the end of the video. So thank you, everybody. God bless you. Stay in your hearts and just breathe. Just breathe. I'm going to stop recording.